Hi, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Aaron Goldbrow. Ollie has his green harness on here, my research assistant. And we're going to be talking about some Iran stuff today, but hope you're having a great St. Patrick's Day. I took one of those DNA tests a few years ago and found out I'm 10% Irish. So that explains why I like green beer. And today we're going to be talking about something. Let me put Ollie down here. I This is Trump talking today. Someone asked him a question about this guy. Joe Kent was the head of his um, fighting terrorism task force, something like that. And here's so he resigned in protest against the Iran war. Said it was no good, even though he'd supported it before and other stuff. He said, "Here we go."
Your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. Uh, I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. Uh, but when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people, many of the great.
He goes on. I'll put a link in the description. And this guy, Joe Kent, he ran for Congress and lost to some Democrat in Washington. But he was a Green Beret, was over in the Middle East fighting in the earlier wars that Trump opposed. Said he would never do. And Kent's wife was killed in Syria. She was a linguist in the Navy. And so he is a Gold Star husband. Not too many of those. A lot of Gold Star wives, but not too many Gold Star husbands. You get a Gold Star if somebody in your family gets killed in a war. My parents remembered that because they lived through World War II, and my father was in the U.S. Army, and my mother was a registered nurse in a tank factory in Detroit doing industrial nursing, and they remembered all the gold stars on the houses of some of their friends died in the war. Family got it. So one of my relatives was wounded badly, my cousin Danny, but nobody in our family died. And anyway, what Trump is talking about here, though, is he has lost control of this war. He never knew what was going on, and he's talking about it being a threat. And oh well, what? By the way, he said this guy always was weak on the threat. Well, why did Trump hire him in the first place? Why did why didn't he fire him when he had some problems there? Instead, he waited until the guy resigned. Why didn't he do that? But let's look at Iran. I thought I would just talk off the cuff here extemporaneously about Iran. What I know about it, for one thing, it's at least 90 million people. Compare that to Iraq in 19 when was it 2003 that Bush invaded, had 20 million people. Iraq had a secular government, whereas Iran has a religious government, and there are problems with that too, just as there are problems with secular governments. But at least a lot of the people believe in that theocracy and Shia Islam. And another thing is Iran goes back historically to the Persians 2,500 years ago, and they're proud of that. They know about it. I've known a number of Iranians over the years. A lot of them are named Cyrus or one of the other emperors that they had. Darius. Darius is another common name. And there are a number of Iranians I've known here in California. Uh, there's an area of Los Angeles that's called Tehrangeles, after Tehran plus Los Angeles, Tehrangeles. And because Los Angeles is a decaying city, a lot of them have moved here to Orange County. Known some of them, great people. One of my best friends was Ismail Adibi, who died 10 years ago. He was a economist um, at Chapman University. He came here in '79, I believe, to study economics, and that was just before the revolution. So, just watching Iran over the years, let me just explain a couple of things. 90 million people, and another thing is they have a lot of engineers. They graduate, I think, 400,000 engineers a year, which is a tremendous amount. Of course, the quality varies, but some at the top. Israel has killed a lot of their engineers, the nuclear engineers and others, but there's other ones coming up through their pipeline. They have excellent universities, so they have guys who can make an atomic bomb. And in fact, what's happening now? Trump further in this thing, I won't play the rest of it now, but he's always been talking about them having a bomb, getting a bomb. But I thought he obliterated it. Remember last June, he said he obliterated it. The B-2s went in. He's still very good at describing things graphically. He's always been good at that. B-2s went in and they bombed Fordow and the other sites. Isfahan is another one. And but the thing is that Iran, there are pictures now of Iran people moving stuff out of there, which would have been the nuclear material, of course. It was supposedly at 60% enrichment, and when it gets to 90 or 92%, then you can make a bomb pretty easily. Maybe they're there already. Who knows? Since the war started 18 days ago, they obviously have every reason to make a bomb. And I had a video from Colonel Danny Davis. He interviewed a guy named Ted Postel, Postol, from MIT. He's a professor there. Used to be at Stanford, but Postel said that you could have a room like the size of, say, a small house uh, that would you could make those bombs in fairly easily. You wanted to, and I guess they want to now, right? They don't have an atomic bomb like Trump said. He obliterated it, and he had, after he did that, he had a picture on his tweet on his True Social thing, and it said, "Anyone who says we didn't obliterate the bomb is saying fake news." So I guess now he's using fake news. He's saying fake news that we need to obliterate it again. And how's he going to do that too? So let's look at again that he lost control of this war. Obviously, he's bombing things, but the regime is intact. I think Israel just killed a guy named Laranjani. He was the head of security, but there's a guy below him. There's 20 guys below him. You know why? Because 20 years ago, 21 years ago in 2005, Dick Cheney said, after we take over Iraq, we're going to go and invade Iran because they had the army there. They had the army in Iraq at the time. But of course, the army got bogged down. Bush had mission accomplished in 2003 on May 1st. Remember, he was staying on an aircraft carrier, flew in on a plane. Big banner, mission accomplished. That didn't happen. But Iran, ever since then, has been preparing for this. And I've described before how they have a thing, this mosaic effect. They have a mosaic where they broke up their government into 38 separate districts. They're the mosaic, like on a wall, mosaic. And each of those has its own instructions if there's no central control. Like after the Ayatollah was killed right away on the 28th, Israel killed him. And they killed, like, I think 49 people total, his top regime. But they all had these independent 38 mosaic pieces had their own instructions what to do. So they started shooting their missiles off, shooting their drones off at Israel and the United States troops and at the Gulf states and at our Navy. And then when they reestablished connections with the central government under the Ayatollah's son, who's apparently still there, although nobody knows if he's alive. Anyway, somebody running it. Then they continued doing it only with more exact targets. And remember, nowadays, in the last few years, targeting has become very good for anybody with a medium size, even industry base like they have. They make the missiles, and they get the cameras uh, from China, just like we do. Like a camera on my iPad here, my iPad Mini. There's a camera there. There's a camera that I'm using this right here. I had an iPhone, an iPhone Mini, which I liked a lot, but it kind of slowed down and conked out. It was 5 years old. And I got this new one here. This is the iPhone Air, which I like a lot. I got last September. Everything's better on it, of course. You know that. You get a new phone and it's better, it's sharper, the pictures are better. Well, the same thing is true for technology, for military technology. They have these missiles and even drones that have exact targeting. They can get within a few feet of the target. So when they establish their central control again, they just change the targeting to new ones. And then if this guy gets knocked out, Laranjani or somebody else, or the whole team of them, it just goes back to their latest instructions for these 38 separate mosaic centers or all around the country. It's a huge country. It's a huge country. It's like France and Germany combined. 90 million people. They have all these missiles still in caves. Trump has been trying to knock out the missiles in caves, and Israel's been trying to do that as well, but the missiles keep flying. They said they knocked it down. There's 10% of the missiles that they used before. Yeah, they're better missiles, and the original one was a shock and awe, like we have shock and awe at the beginning. You just send us all this stuff down there, try to shock them. You know, well, we shocked and awed them, but then they came back. The the attack last June, it took them about 6 to 8 hours to get their communications up because Israel had people on the ground that knocked out their communications and jammed everything. But the Russians came in, they had their technicians there, and they fixed it all within 6 or 8 hours. But this time, it was like a half an hour. They were back shooting again because, like I said, they had this mosaic effect. And this time, there was no surprise. They knew that Trump was going to attack them again. Israel was going to attack them again. So they did that. And now they're continuing. They're continuing this war, and Trump can't stop it. It's out of his control. He tried to get the allies, even some of our allies, and even China, which is absurd, to go and send ships through the Strait of Hormuz and protect the shipping. But you can't because the shore batteries that Iran has, the drones and the missiles all along their side of the Strait of Hormuz are just knocking out any ship they don't like. They're letting Chinese ships go through. China's still getting oil, but um, but not anybody else they don't like. They like you, then okay. I think they're allowing India and some other countries to get oil because India had a tip with them, but Iran is being diplomatically smart. They're just saying, hey, let's make up. Our only enemy is the United States and Israel. Everybody else will make some deals, and Trump can't stop that. And they're talking about maybe putting boots on the ground. Like remember John McCain used to say, "Boots on the ground, boots on the ground." Yeah, he was a flyboy in the Navy. Got shot down. What did he know about ground warfare? And with boots on the ground, if you had a staging area, if you had to do it in like Kuwait or Iraq, it would be wiped out by the Iranians right away. Anybody would be killed. They're sending 2,500 Marines, but as I understand it, it's just to help with diplomatic um, evacuations, getting people out of there. If you put the 2,500 Marines in, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get them through the Strait of Hormuz? They would be killed in the boats. And if you land them, put them on land again, they would be hit on the land. So what are they doing? Trump did not think this out. It's obviously, and his people are saying, of course we planned out that the Iranians would shut the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, what's your plan to stop it? They had plans for that, but apparently they're not working. So Trump and his team totally misjudged this. This is an ongoing disaster. It's not going to get any better. And by the way, how's your price of oil doing? Your price of gas? How's fertilizer? If you're a farmer, it's going up. And the Trump and his people, they always say, "Well, we're independent of oil. We have all the oil we need. We have the fertilizer, all that stuff." Yeah, but it's a global market. The only way you could stop it going up is if you put price controls on, and that screws up the whole market. And if you do it any longer than a couple months, you get 1979 where you had those lines. Even if you're a younger person, you probably saw pictures. The cars all lined up to get gas because there were shortages, because there was price controls. And then Iran again at that time, they shut down the um, production of gas throughout the Gulf, and they caused this problem. And other people were cooperating to other countries. So Trump has totally lost control of this. He's just out of his league on this. He's a guy I was watching two guys. One is a really good guy I've known about for 20 years. His name is Robert Pape, Pape. And there are interviews of him out there. And he's an expert on terrorism. After the 9/11 attacks, he became fairly well known because he's written books about terrorism, which he says is always linked to nationalism. But now he's talking about the escalatory ladder, and he's done a lot of research on this and everything. He's talked to everybody in every recent administration, going back to Clinton, except this one. He talked to the Trump people back in the first administration, and then Biden and all these other ones, but not this one. They didn't listen to him because he said it just escalates, escalates, escalates. And the first escalation is what happened last June when we bombed uh, the 12-day war with Israel and Iran, and then we came at the end with bombing the Fort Out and the other facilities. The second one is this, where you have an air war. That's the second phase, and then the third phase is boots on the ground, which he thinks is very likely to happen. How they're going to do that, I don't know. We don't have the troops to do much. We don't have the troops we had in 2003. The military was reduced in size quite a bit. And another guy who said that was trying to remember. Anyway, somebody else said that the next phase two would have to be boots on the ground. That's where it's going to go. So we'll see. And anyway, have my green cup today too. This is prayer to St. Jude. St. Jude is the patron saint of impossible causes. So this war looks like it's impossible, but maybe St. Jude can help us, and St. Patrick too. So I'll put my Irish crown on, since I'm an Irish king, a descendant of Irish kings anyway, 10%. So everybody have a great day. Remember, like and subscribe. It helps with my algorithm, get other people watching. And go to my Substack, and if you can, contribute a little. $5 a month would help me a lot. So thanks, and happy St. Patrick's Day.